So today we are tasting New Avalon cider, and the New Avalon cider comes from our farm, which is Jackrabbit Hill Farm in Hotchkiss, Colorado, which is 5 hours west of here. Our farm is at 6,100 feet elevation. We do not grow any apples, but we get apples from our neighbors' orchards that we use to make cider with. So what we're tasting now is called Pale cider. The Pale is from Ela Family Farms, which is a big supplier of natural peaches, pears, apples, cherries, apricots to stores like yourself and local farmers markets. Brayburn and Jonathan apples in the Pale. All of our ciders are fermented bone dry, and they're all fermented using wild yeast, the yeast that lives on the skin of the apples. There's a lot of unique things about the ciders. We only use whole fruit. So when we're talking about whole fruit fermentation, we're getting whole fruit from Ela Family Farms, which is 5 miles away. We get a truck full of apples. We bring it up to our farm. We essentially use like a giant scoop, shovel those apples into a giant food mill. That gets crushed down into a light pulp, goes straight into the fermentation tank with only the yeast that are on the skins of the apples, and then that ferments. It takes about 2 months to ferment bone dry. They ferment out to about 6.5% alcohol, so they're not overly alcoholic, but they tend to be just slightly higher than some of the canned ciders. So what we get here is, like I said, 100% whole fruit. There's nothing added. It does not start from juice or juice concentrate. There's no sugar added. There's no added yeast. There's no sulfites are added at all, and they are all organic. So it really can't be much more natural than just a whole apple crushed and fermented and put in that bottle. They are single orchard designated, so that apple cider. The next one is called Filigree. And the Filigree orchard, and I'll back up a little bit, the Filigree orchard is actually in California. It's in Anderson Valley, which is in Mendocino County, California. The Filigree orchard is certified biodynamic, and we work with them because our farm is certified biodynamic. Biodynamic is a regulated growing practice that is similar to organic in that it's very low input farming, but it's even a level above organic in that most of the inputs that you use are generated on the farm. We have cattle and sheep on the farm. We use the manure from those animals to go into preps for fertilizers and sprays. A lot of natural elements are used. Yarrow is used as an antifungal that is sprayed on the grapes, the vines that we have to help keep pest pressure low. So this cider, the Filigree, is 8 heirloom varieties. It's funny, I asked for what those varieties were one time. They sent me a list of 40 different apples that they grow, and they said it'll usually be 6 to 8 of those 40, but we can never tell you exactly which ones. So just bank on the fact that it's 8 heirloom varieties. It tends to be a little bit of a richer color. After it ferments dry, we actually pass it over the skins of Pinot Noir. We grow Pinot Noir on the farm and make Pinot Noir wine. After the wine is crushed and the juice runs off, the leftover, what's called pomace in Italian, the cider is rested on that. It adds a slight hint of color and a little bit of acid from the grape skins, but it's a very rich, full-bodied cider, but once again, bone dry. The last cider is called Fortunate, and it is pear, 100% pear. The Fortunate orchard is outside of Delta, Colorado. It is about 20 miles from our farm and about 1,000 feet lower. It's all Bartlett pears. The Fortunate orchard is down along the Gunnison River as you go north of Delta, down in the bottomland where there are big oxbows in the river that provide flat bottomland for growing. And then once again, it's 100% Bartlett pears, which is pretty rare in the pear cider world to have a pear cider that's only pear. Most of them you see are blended with apple, because it's hard to ferment pears all the way dry, so it takes a little bit longer. It tends to make a really funky flavored, the pear ciders tend to be a little bit sour, a little bit more sour. And if you saw the color when it was holding the glass down there, it's lightly pink. So it's pink because after fermentation, like the Filigree is rested on Pinot Noir pomace, after fermentation, the Fortunate is rested on dried pink yarrow blossoms. So what that does is it adds a hint of a little antifungal property to the cider, but no flavor profile, but it also adds a beautiful light pink color, which is fantastic in a wine glass. Pour that in a wine glass, it makes a beautiful presentation. So that's New Avalon cider.